Back at it, of course, still talking NBA hoops, still talking NCAA hoops, still talking all that good goodness. But we have a very special moment to share with Tony McIntyre. He made himself available so we could talk to him on this very big week for CIA Bounce, 2 more players entering the draft. Let's talk about the decision process. Of course, you were involved in your son's decision to forego the remaining 3 years at Syracuse University after his freshman season, where he played lights out. Top point guard surpassing Marcus Smart. What was the conversation?
I think it was more of keeping him focused on the college year and not talking NBA at all with him. But once we were able to sit down, it was more, similar to what everyone really talks about. Is if you got a chance to A, be a lottery pick, or B, be in the first round, you really got to consider it. And with the season he had, we had to take into consideration, just who was coming back next year at Syracuse, what was really left there in terms of for him to prove other than getting stronger, and really just looking at what he wanted to do for his future career, and his dream's always been to be in the NBA. So you got a shot, you got to go.
All right, now Dan, I know we were talking earlier, you heard some reports from some agents and GMs, mid-20s, late teens. What are you guys hearing?
We're hearing anywhere between 8 and 15. And a lot.
How much weight? Do you put any weight into that, or are you guys just sitting back and like?
Kind of at this point, no. Just because there's so many variables. You don't know where anyone's going to finish. You don't know free agency. You don't know what point guards are going to move. You don't know what teams even want a point guard. You could speculate, but they could go out and buy a point guard for all intents and purposes. And so it's really going to come down to the workouts. It's going to come down to your agent's relationships with certain teams, and it's going to come down to who needs a point guard and at what point. But I think at worst, we're probably the 3rd point guard behind Marcus Smart and Dante Exum at worst. All
right, well, hey, congratulations. I think you guys made the right choice. Charles, Dan, I'm going to get you guys to chime in on some of the other Canadians expected to go. We got a senior in Dwight Powell out of Stanford who plays super big. And then we've got Melvin Ejim, the player of the year in Mr. Wiggins' conference out of Iowa State. Do you anticipate these guys going late first round, or is the conversation of early second round more fitting for these 2 Canadians?
I think, again, you never know. Last year's first round, Bennett, nobody really expected that. I think you never really know. And again, it depends, as was said, who's looking for what, who's entering the draft. I think late first round is not out of the question for sure.
I got late first round for Melvin. I got early second round for Dwight. What do you say?
I'm with you on that. I think Powell is a second round draft pick at best. Ejim is an example of a guy who improved his stock this season.
Tremendously.
Maybe more than anybody in the NCAA, and he might have played himself into the first round. The workouts are going to have a big say in that. He's going to have to work hard during that period to prove he's a first round pick. But he had himself a year.
All right. Okay, now, we've talked a lot of NCAA. Time to get back to what we do best, NBA. Quickly, February 1st, Adam Silver takes over. He's got to make his impression on the league. Right now, we've just discovered after the 6th referee memo was sent out this year, the NBA has decided to open up the doors to transparency. Mark Cuban is dancing in the streets right now. The NBA is opening up the doors to transparency by making the memos to the referees public. Is this a good thing for the game, and do you want to see this happen at all levels? Charles Kissing, we'll start with you. As a coach.
I love it. I think it's a great idea. I think it should happen at all levels. I think it's important. I think the referees play such an important role in the game.
And they've been under a lot of...
You know what? We don't give officials enough credit, so I'm going to give officials credit publicly. We don't give them enough credit. It's a tough job. I would never want to do it. We don't give them enough credit, and I think it's important to be transparent so everyone's sort of on the same page. That the secrecy sort of leads to that, questioning.
Well, you touched on a point that Rod Thorne, one of the NBA executives, addressed, and we're going to throw the quote up there before we let Dan chime in with his thoughts because we know you want to talk about it. So this is Rod Thorne on transparency. We've seen some stuff that wasn't exactly right that's been printed about certain things, so our feeling was that by sending it out to the media, maybe we'll help educate in some cases, but also so everyone can see exactly what we're doing. And that's what they want to establish. So NBA made the right move here, Dan.
Well, are they going to send out a memo when a ref makes a particularly good call?
No.
Well, maybe they should do that as well. Look, being transparent is really good. I think it's a modern way of doing business. And I can't help but feel like the NBA is on the cutting edge of these kinds of things. They are always thinking out of the box and setting the precedent on a lot of these things in professional sports. So I'm on side of if the NBA thinks this is the right idea to do, I'm 100% behind it too.
Pure transparency in the game. Mark Cuban, rejoice, you got what you wanted. That does it for the third segment of today's episode of The Hangout. I want to thank Dan Gladman, Tony McIntyre, Charles Kissy. When we return, we talk about the Raptors. The big Toronto Raptor win against the Houston Rockets. Up next.